And welcome to Listen to the Screams, a horror podcast that feels like you're chatting with friends. I am one of your friends, Dave. We're joined as always by our other friend, Ike. Ike, how are you?
Doing pretty good.
This is a special bonus episode. We have our first ever interview, and we're joined by another friend, Mr. Shawn Robinson, the writer and director of Life of Belle, which you can now view on Screenbox. Shawn, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's dive into it. Ike, get us started here.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. All right, Shawn. Well, as you know, we of course reviewed your movie Life of Belle. It was a fantastic film, and we'll talk a little bit more about how much we loved it later, I'm sure. But we want to get a little insight from you. Talk to us a little bit about how the idea for Life of Belle developed.
Okay. Well, it actually started with my daughter, who plays Belle in the movie. She came to me and was like, I want to be on TV. So I was like, okay. So we just kind of sat down and me and Sarah, the lady that plays the mother, and went over some ideas and came up with the kind of the idea of what the film is. And I just wrote it out, and here we are 6 months later. So
Yeah. So, did you know you wanted to do it as a found footage film, or did the idea come first and then the found footage came later?
the story itself called for it.
Okay.
We had the story going, and then the more I kept writing and thought about it, I was like, this does not need to be a typical film. This needs to be from her perspective.
Right.
So that's why we went the found footage route. So the story dictated this one. So
Good deal.
Absolutely. And just to follow up on that, um, the found footage aspect, and we actually talked about this a little bit during the interview, or not the interview, our review of the film. But did you intentionally go into it trying to, with the setup of the cameras? I'm assuming it was intentional, but we talked about how a lot of found footage films have sort of a fatal flaw where they go overboard with cameras.
mhm.
Um, did you intentionally go with a limited scope to kind of avoid some of those flaws, or what was the intention with that scope?
Well, we actually have nanny cams in the house, and they're in both the kids' rooms, the playroom, which goes, like you said, goes to the front door downstairs, and then the back door. Um, so they were already there. So I just mirrored it, is what I did. So I thought, because we put them up logically is like these are where it needs to go to be able to see the kids, whenever they're running around. So yeah.
Perfect. That was honestly my thought process as well, and I was like, I was geeking out a little bit during the review of the film because I was like, I love this setup. I know it's so like subliminal, I guess you could say, but it just made so much sense. Um, that being said, we also talked about in our review that there's a lot of Robinsons in this film,
Yes.
and we've kind of established that it's your daughter, but this was a family affair. So can you kind of give us a rundown of that a little bit of who was in the film?
Yeah, so Belle and Link, the two main kids in the film, they are actually my children. Sarah, the mother, is my wife, and then my older brother played the father. And then everybody at the beginning, the officer and all that, were basically friends and neighbors. So yeah,
That's awesome. I love that.
yeah.
Well, I mean, since you said it's Bell and Link, right? They were your children. Did you have any issues when you were making the movie? Because the movie has a lot of tension, some
Mhm.
fear. There's some you put your children in some scary moments there, Shawn.
A little bit.
Yeah. Were there ever any issues? Did you ever say, "Oh, I don't know, maybe I should," or your children are all like, "Yeah, bring it on, let's go."
They were very excited. Matter of fact, Belle came up with some things I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit, but there were other things that I had written in the script that they did not feel comfortable doing. So we did
Okay,
not shoot those. So
good.
everything in the film that you see is the things that they were okay with, and they knew ahead of time 100% what was happening. There was no boo moments, I guess you would say, to where they were not expecting something. It was 100%. We talked to them beforehand, and they were okay with it. So.
Well, and when you talked in retrospect, when you talked to them after the fact, did they really feel terror? Because man, we talked about it in a review. Their reaction seemed very genuine.
Yeah, yeah, they have a lot of practice with that. That's how they get me to do whatever they want. So,
All right, all right.
no, we did talk. I mean, there was a couple scenes where they, because of the way the setup was, and the the house, especially towards the end, they did. There were parts where they were like kind of getting to a point they were freaking out. But we would stop, talk to them, and things like that. But I honestly, I know it seems genuine, but it was all them. Like they're the
They,
ones who done that. Like it
man,
was not.
yeah, they did a great job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I'm very, very proud of them. Like I was blown away, sitting there recording it. I was like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
No, and I do want to add to that. Something we talked about during our review is I think the scene that really set it for me, because I've been around children before, I've heard them cry. The scene where the mom comes into Belle's room after sort of we kind of figure out that there's something not so right, and she's crying. It tore me up a little bit. I was like, this is just hitting me. This is hitting home.
Yeah.
Dave and I are huge fans of another film that I would almost kind of put it in the same realm as, called Skinamarink, where it's following the narrative of the child, and just that the fear through the eyes of a child is just something completely untouched, I feel like.
Okay.
And I mean, this just did such a great job. I just had to give a little compliment, I guess, to that, because
Well, thank you.
I
I've
loved
not
it.
seen that one yet, but I do. It's on my list. So, but yeah.
I would definitely compare what you did to that. Obviously, yours is more found footage, I think, than sort of the ethereal weirdness that a Skinamarink is, because that's what a lot of people, I think, get turned off about Skinamarink. But I just think that how you did it.
They both touch that same nerve, right? That uncomfortable.
Exactly.
This is that's what the fear is, right? The terror is, the tension is. It's not the monster in the closet. It's holy crap, what are these kids going through?
Exactly.
And, yeah.
Yeah, almost to the point where it was trying to, the Life of Belle was trying to put you in the kid's shoes. So it was like bring you back to that childhood fear, that I don't know, you may or may not remember how you felt as a child, but that was the whole point. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I think you accomplished that.
yeah, and with the aspect of Belle, kind of wanting to do the online thing, whatever, the YouTube quote unquote type thing. That, I think that again, we commented that made sense, right? It made sense why that was being filmed, and it's a very real thing with kids. But it was great because it truly gave you Belle's perspective, right? It was her filming, it was her on her own doing these things. So it was a great approach to really get her reaction and her perspective on it.
Yeah, little fun fact. So for about a week, I kind of gave her my phone and was like, have fun, and then I went back and I studied the videos and what she was doing. And that's how those scenes came into fruition. I kind of was like, okay, she would do this, or Link would do this, so yeah. So it was I did study that. I tried to at least. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But kind of along these same lines, we're kind of talking about how great everyone did. I mean, every single person in this film just they hit the mark. And I kind of checked out IMDb a little bit. I'm a IMDb snoop. I go on there, I go to the film, I try and drill down, like, okay, where's this person been? And I've seen some things, but has any of your family done any previous acting or anything like that?
Outside of short films that we did while we were learning how to actually do, or I was learning how to actually do this, no. This was it was everyone involved's first time attempting at a feature film period and a found footage anything. So yeah, this is a definitely first time for everything. So
yeah, well, you wouldn't have guessed that. Yeah, you would not have guessed that it was a first time for anything. I'll give you that much.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we So like I started off, it was about 3 years ago. I've always loved film, obviously, and then I was just like, I want to try and do this. So for like 6 months, I kind of studied it, watching YouTube videos, tutorials, things like that, but mainly on like the software stuff. And then we did practice stuff. Most of the practice stuff is like funny little family videos that I put on Facebook, you know. Yeah, but it was intended to be as a practice, and then last year is when we finally decided we were like, let's do this, you know, and yeah, so that's how it started.
I love that.
Yeah, well, you said a lot of the ideal, started with you and Belle, right, discussing and her approaching you. But like you said, your son's in it, your brother's in it, your wife's in it. So bringing them in, was it always intended that, hey, we're going to use this as a family project, right, a family thing, or was it kind of a, hey, that's a matter of convenience, right? We need some more cast members. Hey, honey, you're gonna play in this. You're gonna be in this film that me and Belle want to do.
Yeah, no, it was I wrote it to Belle, Link, and Sarah, the mother. I wrote it to them. So I had them in mind from the start that they were going to play it. My brother Matthew, that it wasn't a last moment thing, but that one was more of I don't know who else kind of thing. Which I think he did a great job, and I'm super appreciative for him helping out on it. But yeah, it was always intended for them. So
yeah, did your wife have an interest in doing this kind of, I mean, because she was really great and
yeah,
really, I mean, disturbing in it. I mean, does she have an interest in this ahead of time?
She when I told her we were gonna do a big one, yeah, 100%. Like
Okay.
she was all on board with it. And then the more along that when I was writing it, I would read her some parts of it. Never told her everything till it was done. And then that's when she was like, I don't know, like, like I don't know if I could do that. But the more she read the whole story, and she's like, okay, all right, now it makes sense. So yeah, but yeah, she was on board at the start for the most part.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so obviously with this being a family affair, this being just passion project, was this also filmed in your own home, or did you go through the process of getting like an Airbnb and filming in that or something?
No, it was our home. Yeah, well, we currently are sitting in.
Oh, so it's a non-set interview. This is
Yes.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can give you a tour, give you some backstage, scenes.
Yeah,
So
well, I
go ahead.
mentioned talk to Ike in the review. You talked about the camera setup and how perfectly it worked. Why the home layout? Talked about that.
Well, and I was gonna say, he mentioned because I asked about it just a second ago. So then
Mm-hmm.
you said that where the cameras are set up is how you normally have your camera set up in your house, like your nanny cam type thing. So,
Mhm.
to kind of follow with that though, did does your children like? I feel like if I filmed a movie that young, I would always like in picture doing a movie in my house. Do they still like think that way? Do they still like do they avoid certain areas because they're like, oh, that I don't know about that corner over there?
No, not really, to be honest. I mean, towards the like right when it was done, they would like kind of point out and be like, "Hey, we did this here." But yeah, they don't really talk about it much anymore, other than um, Belle keeps saying, "Oh, it's viral." Like that's whatever
Is
that
she
means.
it,
So,
is she getting a bit of an ego? Is she like, hey, Dad, I'm a movie star now? You can.
yeah, it's forming. I'm trying to stop it. Yes, it is forming. No,
Dad,
and
I'm.
the reason being is because her teacher actually watched it. Uh,
Oh.
yeah, and she like was talking to her about. It's like I saw your movie, and then she came home. She was like, I'm just so awesome. So
That's great. That's
yeah,
great.
which
Well,
honestly was the whole point. So
yeah, yeah. Well, it's fun. Yeah, and you told me right. You in discussions, you said that while this is where your nanny came, you only used one camera,
yes,
right? And you had to move and and you said you even borrowed the camera, right? So
yeah,
tell us about that.
yeah. So every angle and even the handheld stuff was me holding it the whole time. Belle on the handheld, she was standing next to me holding my hand. So as we were doing this, but yeah, it was a borrowed camera from my brother, just because I didn't didn't really have one at the moment that, but anyway, so, and then the static cams, the nanny cams, basically, those were me standing on a chair holding it. Like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and I would
Remarkable.
have, and it was one camera for everything. So we would move it, at per scene, change up. So yeah.
I'm just picturing you standing in the corner of your kitchen, just like
Yep.
what?
That's exactly
That's
it. So, and I had like a reference picture on my phone of where each scene was, like where it needed to be, and I would just kind of line it up exactly, and then I would just hold my breath and hope it went well. So yeah.
Well, I would have never guessed that. I mean, legitimately, they seem very static. They didn't seem like they moved. Every shot seemed the same. So I thought they were actually multiple cameras. So you have me fooled.
Well, good.
But kind of going along that same line, borrowed camera, all this stuff. Dave and I, we are suckers for low budget horror movies. We eat them up. We watch as much as possible. IMDb lists your budget as a whopping $300. Is that accurate, or is that not so accurate?
No, it's accurate. That was everything that I had to buy for the film itself, which really was only police lights that we could put on top of a car, and then which the officer that did play, he's an actual police officer, so that's why he had the costume already. So, but it was just the police lights and caution tape for the most part, and then some food and like a toy. I put the toys that I bought for them for doing the movie in the budget. So, but yeah, no, everything in it was practical, and it was stuff we had lying around the house. The lighting was lamps we would move closer to the character when they were on screen. Yeah, it was 100% DIY.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm not just saying this, Sean, because you're here. Like I said, we've watched many low budget movies, but right, by low budget, I mean that's not. We're not talking $300. We're talking several thousand, right?
Yeah.
By a low budget. Some of those cannot touch what you've done with one camera, your family, and $300. I mean, it's. I seriously, I really feel like you're blowing smoke, because it does not seem possible. Because I mean, literally, Ike and I we watch a lot of movies. We have watched theatrical releases that I really feel like I feel like you've made a better film than them. Wow. And it is incredible, especially considering we love the grassroots thing, man. We are huge supporters of independent filmmakers and that kind of stuff. But I mean, we saw that $300. We thought they've got to be missing a zero or two. There's no way. That does not seem right. It blows my mind.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate it. I'm kind of speechless, to be quite honest. I don't know what to say, but I really appreciate it. No smoke. It 100% was that. If you want to throw in food, because a lot of times the budget will incorporate like the food that you feed the cast, things like that. I mean, it was just groceries that we would buy normally, so I couldn't really put that in there. So it was just like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you got the director and an actress that are making dinner for everybody. I mean, it works, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we would stop shooting and then have dinner.
and as Ike will tell, I mean, I'm very critical of found footage films, because I went for a long time. I mean, I love Blair Witch, but I went for a long time. A lot of found footage I didn't like, because I thought they all blurred together a lot. Right? They all felt the same. And there's been a few recently that have really turned my mind on it, and yours is one of them. I really felt it felt different, right? It was a different approach. And like Ike said earlier, it didn't try to overcomplicate what shouldn't be overcomplicated, right? The three camera points, right? The mobile, the two static, makes sense. That's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And like Ike said earlier, a lot of found footage films try to overdo, and it doesn't make sense in the concept. And I just feel like, man, I feel like you nailed it. And found footage is not my bread and butter, not my favorite. But man, I really fell in love with your film. And I thought you did it right.
So, for point of reference, he's downplaying it a little bit, but there were times where we would talk about found footage, and he would just be like, "Nope, I'm not going to watch it," like straight up. Because I am an absolute just sucker for found footage films. Like, I'll watch anything found footage, but he's the opposite. He was like, "No way." Okay. And we sort of got him into it with like the new VHS films, and there was another independent film.
Deadspin. Was it? That's what it's called? Was it?
Or
Dead
it's like,
Space?
yeah, the one on Shutter. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
but so he kind of has gotten his way more towards it. So when we watched this movie, I honestly was like, either he's gonna love it or he's gonna pull the same like, oh, I don't like found footage. But he obviously loved it. So
Yeah.
Well, you sold me, Sean. You sold me.
Real good. That's awesome.
So you mentioned 6 months earlier, right? So talk to me again about that. The 6 months. How long did it take you to film and edit this movie total? I mean, is that the 6 months you're talking, or?
So yes, the film itself took so consecutive. It was about 6 months, and then we had to like for the distribution, we had some other stuff we had to do to get it ready for release. Which probably added like a day or so. But yeah, for the most, it was 4 months of shooting, 1 month of writing, and then 1 month of editing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and the reason it took so long to shoot is obviously because they're small kids, right? Like their attention span is very small. So we would shoot, it was like an hour every other day we would try, and then it turned into like we wouldn't shoot for like 3 or 4 weeks because they just didn't want to. So yeah, so it took a lot longer than it should have, but yeah, but it worked out.
Yeah,
that's funny. I mean, to be fair, they're not trained actors, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and it was a favor. Well, I say it was a favor. They knew from the start they were going to get a toy out of it, and they were like, yeah, let's do this. I want my toy. And I did tell them, I made it very, very clear that you don't get nothing until this movie's done. So they wouldn't get it beforehand. But
well,
no, yeah, it took a while, but it was good. It was good.
We won't cue them in on union rates or anything like that. We'll
No,
we'll let the
no, they're good.
All right.
I love that. All right. So sort of along those same lines, there's a lot of steps that go obviously into, filming, creating, writing, editing. But one of the most important things about a film is premiering it. How did you premiere this film? Did you have like an official premiere? What did that look like? And tell us a little bit.
Like a public one
yeah.
So it was Terra Films, the one who distributed it. They kind of took reins of that part of it, but it premiered first on their YouTube channel. And the reason it done that, it was because it has every language auto subtitled, right? So everyone across the world could see it. So that was the whole point of that. And then it hit Tubi shortly after, and then now Screenbox. So that's what it was. There wasn't any theatrical release or anything like that because it's super expensive. But yeah, no, they took over all that. So wherever they tried, we tried to get it everywhere, obviously. But YouTube and people kind of, you hear, oh, it's on YouTube. It's like, okay, well, that kind of speaks low on the film, right? But in reality, it doesn't. It allows other countries to be able to watch it as well, and that was the whole point. So I'm glad they did it in the route that it went, because it seems to work out. So.
No, I mean, and YouTube is, I've always kind of had like the thought process that YouTube is a fantastic way for creators to get stuff out there for free, essentially. And same thing with Tubi. Obviously, I don't know all the logistics behind Tubi, but obviously Tubi is a free service,
right.
And there's a lot of fantastic work on Tubi. So there's no shame in that process, because I've seen stuff on YouTube, and I guess this proves the point that it's so much better than some of the stuff you see in theaters. So I guess it worked out then.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, everybody shouldn't shy away from YouTube. There's a lot of good stuff on there. So.
Yeah, definitely. But you mentioned Screenbox, right? And that's that's a big step, right? But Screenbox is a very Ike and I love Screenbox. We love Shutter. There's a big platforms for horror creators to be able to target in on their audience. And you mentioned, right, it would just debut on Screenbox May 17th. You said your distributor handled all that. Are you involved at all in that process? Or how do you hear, hey, Sean, your movie's going on Screenbox? What is that like from your standpoint?
So they communicate it where they're pitching it, is the way they frame it. And then if the one they're pitching it to accepts it, they'll tell us. Now the issue is a lot of them don't really tell you the date they're going to make it live, so we don't really have that until it kind of like the day of or maybe a couple days before. Which I was really happy with Screenbox. Like I knew way ahead of time, so
Yeah.
that was awesome. But yeah, so they communicate everything through phone call, email. They've actually been very, very good. So if you have, go Terra Films, shout out to them. So, and to the Screenbox thing, like, yeah, that actually was a life goal, was to get it on Screenbox. And yeah, as of yesterday, like I checked that off my list. I was like, I could have killed over. I'd have been fine. Like I was very happy. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, right? I mean, yeah, YouTube, those are all great, and we love those. But man, as a guy who made a horror film, do you think your film's now on Screenbox with some absolutely classic films, right? I mean, it's some unbelievable. I mean, that's got to feel good as a creator.
It does. It is humbling first. Like I'm just like honestly baffled at the whole thing. Is like how we're all our worst critics, right? So I'm like, me personally, I'm like, but because I made it, and I do that with everything. It's not a detriment to the film, but at the same time, it's like, how did this happen? Like, it's like it's crazy to me. It just baffles me. Like, I don't know what to say, but I don't know. I thank them like almost daily. Like I'm just like, thank you.
Well, and now your daughter can go around and say, "Hey, I'm a Screenbox star."
Right? Yeah. And she knows what it is too. So she 100%. Yeah. I'm sure she's going around school being like, as of Monday, she's gonna be like, "Yep, we've done it. Like we're there. I'm moving to Hollywood. People, peace out." Like,
that's great.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, we kind of talked a little bit about the premiere, and obviously now that the film has premiered officially on Screenbox, especially since this is after it's premiered, you obviously got to watch it and view it. But now that fans have gotten to view it, I heard that you did sort of like a live watch along type deal where people were tweeting at you. How was that, and how was the reception to that?
It was a lot of fun, like a lot of fun. A thing about me is I have very bad anxiety, so things like that, I get kind of uncomfortable and it's hard to handle, but it was good. I loved it, and the reception seemed to be very, very good, to the point to where no one was tweeting for a little bit because they were all like glued to the screen. So, and then someone came back and was like, "Oh, I forgot to tweet." Like it was like I was watching the movie. So, no, it went well, and I was very thankful for Jeff is Jeff is the one that
Jeff Whitmore.
So it was great. Like I loved every bit of it. So
yeah, he's a great guy, man. Very supportive of horror in general, especially of Screenbox products. All the time doing stuff like that. And he's a great guy to help do that stuff. And I mean, I saw some of the, I wasn't following along at the time, but in retrospect, I saw some of the tweets, and it's very cool. I've not seen anything negative, right? I've seen lots of positives. Hey, you got to watch this. This is really, really good. And I think you mentioned it in that live tweeting, but I know you confirmed it with us. There is a sequel happening.
There is
to Life of Belle.
Yes, sir.
I know you can't give away much. What can you tell us? And I have to say, in our last episode, we kind of unofficially made an elevator pitch to you about a documentary. So what do you think of our elevator pitch?
I loved it, actually, and never really thought about it that way, to be quite honest. And the movie itself was always intended to be 2 parts.
Okay.
So the story, which you'll see, and I can't say anything right now because we're ways off. But no, I loved it. And like I think I said to you, like I'm gonna try and do like maybe something along those lines, like a short little docu-series leading up to the sequel, because I think that's a really great idea. But the sequel is not a documentary, and it 100% is a sequel to the movie, and it will answer the questions that you're going to have at the end, which I'm not going to spoil right now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the movie's fresh out. We don't want to spoil anything yet.
Nope.
But you did say it's not going to be found footage, correct? It's going to be
No,
more.
It is found footage.
Okay, it is found footage.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
gotcha. Okay,
just it won't be a
documentary
style.
Gotcha.
But it'll be full found footage.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and there's some stuff that we're gonna, like I said, the biggest question that I get asked will be answered in that one, and that's what I always tell them, being like, wait for part 2, you'll
Sure.
understand. But yeah, so it definitely found footage. But we're gonna tackle some different themes. Like everything we're trying to do, they always have this one thing that we're trying to, like for Life of Belle, realism was what we were going after. So like everything had to be as real as possible, right? So, and then this next one is something different, while sticking with realism, but it'll tackle something different that you'll see at that time.
Yeah. Now, do you feel, is it the bones of it written? Are you working on that now? I mean, yeah, so you're there, right? You're ironing out stuff.
I am ironing it out. However, we have another film that's not tied to Life of Belle coming out first.
Okay.
That we're shooting on this year.
Okay. What can you tell us about that?
Is that the Children of the Woods that I saw on IMDb that?
No, that's actually my brother's movie.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had a small role in it to help him out, so that's why I was tied to it. So yeah, but everybody should check that one out too. That it's shaping up to be really well when it launches.
Yeah. So what can you tell us about this other film then?
So the other film, the title was Episode 12, is the name of the film. And it deals with closure, and how the road to closure can be very misleading.
Oh, all right.
And that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, I have to ask though. You're right. You're doing these things, right? All these familiar. There's a sequel coming. Have the kids' demands gone up, right? Are we? I mean, that you bought them a toy for the first one. Are we saying, Dad, we got to have more than one now? I mean, I'm a star. My price has gone up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for this next one, yes, that budget is probably going to double to 600. All just toys. So
I think you're developing a prima donna there. I don't know.
A little bit. And
that's all right.
Link's starting to get that way now too. So
man, Sean, give her all the toys, man, because she's great, and so's Link. So yeah, they're great. They deserve them, man. Keep them going, because
they're actually very excited. Because they keep asking when we're doing another one, and I'm like, I'm going as fast as I can. People like, so
they don't understand the process, right? They're like, let's just film, Dad.
No, they don't. But this next one is so I'm going to try my best to blur the line between found footage and typical movies. So we're so
and this is are we talking about the episode 12?
Yes, sir.
And your children and your wife, they'll all be in this one too. This is going to be another family.
They
project.
are, and a lot of other people. Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but
I look forward to that.
I'm really excited. I actually read the script to or the opening, the first 30 minutes to Sarah yesterday, and she was like, "Don't stop! Like I got to know what's happening." So I think I'm really excited for it once we start it. So
well, we are too. So but definitely keep us posted on that, because we're going to want to know how that's progressing, and when we can see that, and keep us posted.
Yeah.
So
hint Screenbox.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Yeah.
I'm joking.
Definitely.
I love that. But also before we move too far forward, I wanted to just comment. You can blame me partially for the documentary pitch, because we were talking about it. I'm trying to get him to watch a movie. It's called Horror in the High Desert, which is documentary style, and it's so great. But I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. And then he told me that he was talking to you behind the scenes, and I was like, oh man, he's throwing our stuff at him. Like, hey, you better do that. No.
Hey, but you could tell your daughter though that Ike wanted to do a time jump and recast your daughter, so Belle. So tell her.
Oh, man. I'm about to get fired.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah, she won't like that. So blame that on him. That wasn't my idea. That was his idea.
That was me. Yes.
Yeah. No, that ain't happening. Like, sure.
Yeah, you gotta live. You gotta live with her.
Exactly.
I'm waiting for like a little fist to come on screen, just like.
Yeah.
She's probably outside the door listening right now. So. Yeah.
Oh man,
that's great.
I'm on a child shit list as it is. So
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, so as we said, the movie is Life of Belle. It is an excellent, excellent movie. We highly recommend it. We gave it a 3.5 screams. Sean, that's a great rating for us because we don't go to 4 and above for just anything. So 3.5, man, I'm telling you, you beat out a lot of big theatrical releases with that. So everybody, you need to go check the movie out on Screenbox now. So Sean, you talked about you've got this other film coming. There's a sequel coming in the future. You're obviously motivated to keep working. How can people follow you? What's the best way for them to follow you to keep up on these projects and know how these things are developing?
Any of the social medias I'm on. Trying to think of what my Instagram is, Shawn.Robinson36, and then Twitter is
I think it's Life of Belle.
Life of Belle,
yeah.
At Life of Belle. Which might have to change that when the other ones come out, but but no, that's really the best way to follow me. And I'm not on them that much, but those are the two that I focus on. So,
well, like we said, keep us posted, give us updates. We'll make sure we get it out there to our followers.
Thank you.
We do a news bit, so we'll include you and keep people abreast on what's happening in your movies. Because, like I said, everybody I've seen loves this film, and so I'm sure they're anticipating your follow-ups, and I know we are. I mean, I loved it. The movie, it blew me away because I didn't, you don't expect, right? You don't expect what I tell you. I know it sounds like I'm just because you're here, I'm giving, but it's not. It is absolutely true. You can tell Ike off air. I was just like, man, this is really, and the $300, like that can't be right. Cannot be right. No way. We were overly impressed. You're very, very talented, very creative. Your children are very, very talented and creative. Your wife was great. She was terrifying. And
I slept on the couch for weeks after this movie.
I bet. Yeah. I bet. Yeah. So and again, your brother, he wasn't in the film a lot, but he did a great job with his part too.
Yeah, and he's not my favorite Robinson though.
It's too late, man. You already pissed his daughter off. You can't make up.
Right.
Yeah. She just passed me a note that says hang up now. So I really I do want to say, if it's okay, I want to say thank you to you guys and really everybody that gives it a chance. This is way beyond what I expected from the movie. I'm not gonna lie. Like getting even 10 strangers to watch something of mine is what my goal was. So for it to be on now Screenbox is just, it's crazy. So I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, thank everybody. So whether you like it or hate it. So I thank you.
Yeah. Well, Ike and I have always said, Screenbox, they're such great platforms, right? Because it gives guys like you an opportunity to get these out. And if it wasn't for something like Screenbox, we may not have ever seen your film. And that's sad. I hate that, right? And we went and seen some theatrical movies, and I'm like, ugh. And and here it is, your little film, $300 film on Screenbox. I mean,
it's crazy,
so
right?
It is. That's one of the great things about technology and where we stand now is the ability for creators to get their work out there for us to see. And I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for you for this film. And Ike, anything you want to throw in there before we get out of here?
Well, just obviously, thank you so much. And, you gave us the opportunity not only to see your film because you made it, but also you gave us the opportunity to interview you. And this is our first true interview for this. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we've done interviews for other things, but for a horror movie, a director, I mean, this is like a dream come true for me because I'm interviewing a director from one of my favorite recent horror films. So I really appreciate that.
And we always said we were going to be choosy, right? We wanted to do some interviews, but not just because, with someone we truly wanted to talk to. And literally when we watched this film, we're like, man, we need to talk to this guy, right? I want to talk to. And then when you got back with us on social media, I'm like, definitely. Because I so appreciated you giving us some feedback on what we said and answering some of our questions. I thought, man, this is great. We need to talk to him. And so I'm glad we connected. And
me too.
Yeah, it's very good. So everybody, go watch Life of Belle on Screenbox. Sean, thank you for joining us. And we look forward to your future films. Tell your daughter that I said hi. That Ike said to recast her. It's his fault.
I will.
Make sure she realizes that there's two of us on this podcast, and
Yes.
Ike's the bad one.
Okay, fair enough.
but-
I'll do that.
No, but
Oh, man.
give our best to your entire family. Give all this praise to them too, because they did a wonderful job as well. And
I will.
tell them that we're fans of all of them.
Okay,
And,
I will definitely. Thank you.
you're absolutely. So have a good weekend, Sean, and
All right.
keep in touch.
Thank you, sir.